6 is called Inform. We are not worrying about Inform today, just how to create a test. Now, this feature, sadly, does not work on Safari right now. If you had Firefox, which I don't think most of you have those browsers unless you've put it on there yourself. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to log into an actual class. And do you guys have classes listed? You do? Okay, I didn't know. So just pick any class and log in under My Classroom. And they're looking into fixing that so that you don't have to do this. Otherwise, you can use Firefox and it works on Firefox. But currently, it doesn't work on Internet Explorer and it does not work on Safari. And then once you're in a classroom, you're going to click on Tests over here. And then click on Open Testing and Assessments tool. And this is what you should have. Does everyone have that?
Yeah.
Are you connected to new? Or are you connected to new?
Oh, yeah. There, now it just came up. I'm sure you're connected to the network.
Okay, in this section, you're able to create a test. And what's nice about this is that you can create your own questions, or you can actually pull from the Florida Common Core standards. Okay? Or you can mix and match. It can be your own questions, and it saves it on there, so you can use it throughout. You can combine all the questions. And we're just going to play around with it today. I'm going to show you some of the features, and then you have a task at on the last page of your handout of what you're going to be doing. Okay? So the first thing is you're going to want to create a bank. All questions are housed in banks. So, for example, if you want all your questions about U.S. government in here, whether it's from 6th, 7th, and 8th, you can put them all in one bank. If you want them separated for like 6th grade government, 7th grade government, 8th grade government, even if you don't do government, you can do it any way you want. So just say 6th grade geography. Okay. And then once you choose the bank, you can have the bank to where only you can access the bank, or anyone in your school can access the bank. As far as I know, there should be a way to where I think anyone in the diocese can also see it, but right now it's just listing as either only you can see it or your school. So just for practice, I'm just going to collect only me because it's not going to be a real bank. And by the way, if I go too fast, I am doing a screen recording, so you can watch this back whenever you want if you really care. Okay, so 6th grade geography. I just created that one. I now want to add questions.
Did you just click edit or import?
I don't think I wanted to click that, though. Okay, I'm going to Okay, yeah. Okay, that's all you do there. That's all you do there is you just create the bank. All you do there is title it. Okay? You don't add questions there. Then, when you want to add questions, you're going to click on questions over here under the taskbar. And then it'll say create a new question, or it'll say edit passages. We're going to create a new question. Okay. And in Limelight, you have 4 choices. You can make true or false questions, multiple choice questions, a constructed response, which is like essay, or a multi-part constructed response. We'll do true false. Okay. And I'm going to make this question be about government, 6th grade government, so I'm going to select 6th grade geography. So what would be a true or false question that might be in 6th grade geography?
Nile River flows south.
Okay. Okay. And this isn't obviously a math question, but if you are making a math question, you do have the option of putting in protractors, rulers, calculators, math reference sheets. So that is an option on there. Okay, and then for your questions at the bottom, there's even a section for you can put, if you know the Bloom's number, is this knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation? You can add all that stuff on there. Okay, and the answer is, we said true? So I clicked create question. And once it loads, it'll now be stored in the 6th grade geography bank for however long you want it to be in there. So whenever you're creating a test, you can choose the bank that you want to pull from. And now that shows the question in there. Okay. Let's create another one. Let's do a multiple choice question. What would be a multiple choice question for 6th grade geography?
Egypt was protected by A, the Gobi Desert.
Can't spell. What was the first one?
The Gobi Desert.
Was that Gobi? I did. It's a new country. Okay.
The Sahara Desert. Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
The Alps.
The Alps. Okay. Now, and then, what's the correct answer? Is that B? Yeah. Okay. Now, say I wanted to add a reading passage to that. Whenever you're creating a question, where did it go? There's a place where it says add a reading passage. Right there. And all the reading passages are stored in there. They have a selection of reading passages in there. And you can also create your own passages. So if you're doing literature, you can put passages from your book in there, and then they can analyze it. If you're doing social studies, you can put like a section of the Constitution in there, and have them answer questions about it. And they have, these are the ones that are already in there that are stored in the basic bank. Those are the ones that come loaded on here already. And they have nothing to do with Egypt, but I'm just going to put one in there just to show you. Okay. I'm going to create the question. And also, when you're creating the question, it gives you an option of either clicking Create Question or Create an Align Question. So if you know which standard that particular question matches, you can have that in there. All right, and we'll do one more question because you guys will have to do all 3 questions in your assignment.
Is this creating a test that you would eventually print out and give to your students, or how does that?
Yeah, you can either print it out, or a student, well, actually there's 3 options. You can print it out, a student can take it on the computer, and I'll show you. I created one last night, and if we're allowed, I don't know, we can log in as a student, and I can show you what it looks from the student side. And then the 3rd option is these work with the CENTIOs. So I don't know, is the long-range plan to have them done all on the computer so that we are able to use the inform part, the analytics part?
That's a good question.
Okay.
This is not something that we as a school chose to do. We as a diocese chose to do. So the superintendent is still trying to make those decisions.
Okay.
But part of it is for our accreditation in each of our schools, we need more data-driven goals. So this was one way, because all of your ITDS scores will be placed in it, and then all of the testing information that we gather from these assessments will also give us a better understanding of where these kids are and what we need to do for geography.
No, like an essay. Yeah. Okay, and the last one, you can choose between constructed response and multi-constructed response. We're just going to do constructed. You have a question?
How did Egypt gain its power?
Is that it? Not too long.
How did Egypt gain its power in dollars?
Okay. And then you can actually choose how much room the student has to respond. If you just want to give them 2 inches, or if you want to give them a full page, depending upon what type of question it is, you can control that, which is nice. And then you'll need to put a sample response in there. You can just give me like a 1-sentence response.
Trade.
Sentence.
They gained dominance through trade.
Thank you. Okay. And what's nice about Limelight is it does grade multiple choice and true false for you. It does not grade, to my knowledge, it doesn't have a way of grading the extended responses. And then for when they have to type anything out, you can put a rubric in there. You have to create your own rubric though, but I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay. Okay, we now have 3 questions about geography. We are ready to make a test. Okay. I'm going to click Create a New Test. Okay, and when you're creating a new test, you have three options. You can select by indicator, and that means you are searching for the standards. So if you know your standards and you want all their questions that they have for a specific standard, it will pull all of those for you for whatever subject, whatever grade. So when I click on Show Banks, we created 6 geography and then prepositions. That's just one I was practicing with last night. And then the school one we have already loaded on there is basic and then vocabulary. And then you can either do the Common Core standards or you can do the Florida standards. Which one are we supposed to do? Common Core, right? Okay. So I'm pulling from 6 geography because we have all those nice questions we can make a test out of. You can also select by passage. I showed you all those passages that you can have. They have the ones that are already loaded on there, or you can create your own, or select by bank. I'm just going to do the 3 questions that I made from geography. Okay, and so I just made 3 questions. I only have 3 questions in my bank, and I want to add all 3 of these. So I'm going to click Add to Test, and they're all unaligned. If you know what standard that is, you can do that on your own. Okay, and then I'm going to click Preview. Okay, and then this is not exactly what the test will look like, but from here you can say you want the extended response at the top. You can move that from here. Okay, I'm going to save this test. Okay, and then when you're selecting the test, it gives you different options. Is this a quiz? Is this for homework? Let's say this is a classroom test. Okay, and then at the bottom it says either keep this test private, share with my subscription, or share with my district. For today, make sure you click on keep this test private because you are going to be deleting it unless you end up making something you want to keep. Okay, after you've made the test, you have the options of downloading it as a PDF or as HTML file, and then you can also download the answer keys the same way. Okay. Now, once you've created the test, it's not in there for the students to take. You actually now have to assign the test. So it is going to take a lot of work in the beginning, but once you make your banks, it will eventually pay off. You can just pull right from all your banks. And you can make it either a timed assignment or an untimed assignment. I'm going to give this Okay, and this is what the test is actually going to look like. If I was a student taking this, this is what it would look like. Our first question was the extended response, and then we added that random passage, and that has nothing to do with Egypt. And what's nice about the passages is that it has these editing tools over here, and I think this was really helpful. Is that this can help guides their reading, and then you can also you can highlight text and stuff like that, and then you advance to the next question.
Is this all still through the internet? You're taking it like online, or is this?
Yeah, if they were taking this online, this is what it would look like. It's really slow right now. And when they log in, they would go to their class, and then it would say assignments, I believe, and then it'll list the assignment, and they can take it there. And I'm sure there's a way where you can you stop the assignment that way. If you're doing it on the computer, you could stop it, make sure they don't go home and do it, like if they were absent or whatever. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to finish that. Okay. Okay. And then your recent activity will show everything that you've done recently. Other things I was talking about is new passage, where you can put in text, like if you're doing a novel or whatever. And the only other things I wanted to show you were rubrics. Okay. There are no rubrics, so I have to create my own. And once you put in all that information, this is where the rubric part comes in, where you assign a point value. So if it's 10 points for spelling, 15 points for, say, length, that's where you create your rubric. And you can use that rubric for any of your constructed responses. It doesn't have to be for a certain test or anything. Okay. But that is the gist of it. Any questions? No, it doesn't. Okay. Well, if you look at your task, and then I did give everyone a quick reference guide, and I'll show you if you want. This is obviously, not everything. If you go to help, the top of the page, there is a 151-page manual as well. That would be the user guide, and then there's one for, it says directions for administration. That's when you are actually administering the test. Okay. But your task says to create a personal test bank, which if you don't remember, I'll go over it really quickly again. You're going to go up to New Bank and create a bank. And all you have to do there, you don't add anything in there. You just create what the bank is going to be, whether it's on grammar or history. You just create the bank. What do you want those questions to be about? And then after that, you're going to go to New Question, and you're going to create 3 different questions. One's going to be true, false, like we did before with Egypt. one multiple choice, and one constructed response. And it doesn't matter if the answers are wrong. This is just a practice. And try to add a reading passage to one of the questions. And then when you're done with those questions and you put them in one bank, you're going to create a test from that bank. And you can also use the Common Core standards, just if you want to see how that is. And I didn't show you guys that, just because it's kind of it's overwhelming when you look at all the standards. Okay, I just did a search for language arts standards. Oh, no questions. Okay. Okay, that's taking a while to load, but I guess we're going to give you time to play with it as this is loading. Okay, here it is. But like I just did a search for language arts, and this just gave me all these questions on here that relate to the standard of citing textual evidence. So, but it is quite overwhelming. So I would just practice today with like creating your own.